Hi, everyone. I wanted to share with you an insight that I got from reading my friend Robert Greene's book. I was on the writer Ryan Holiday's podcast last year, and he sent me a care package of some of his favorite books, and he's a big fan of Robert Greene, who's also become a friend. He's working on a book on the sublime right now, which I can't wait to read. But this is Robert Greene's The Daily Laws, and it's kind of a amalgam of all of his books on. He's famous for the 48 Laws of Power and other books like that. But I was really struck by this one insight that he had called Practice Mitfreude. And he opens with a quote from Nietzsche, which is from Nietzsche's Human All Too Human. The serpent that stings us means to hurt us and rejoices as it does so. The lowest animal can imagine the pain of others, but to imagine the joy of others and to rejoice as it is the highest privilege of the highest animals. And that reminded me of this insight that it's so easy. We all know this word called Schadenfreude. Schaden means harm in German, and Freude means joy. And so Schadenfreude is this concept of delighting and taking joy from another person's harm, delighting in someone else's misfortune. That sort of mindset it illuminates the fallenness of the human condition. And as Blaise Pascal said, the human condition is defined by the greatness and wretchedness of man. That impulse to delight at the misfortune of someone else is a manifestation of our wretchedness. But there's also Mitfreude. And Mitfreude means with joy. Mit means with, Freud again means joy. And that is to delight in someone else's joy and benefit as well, deriving joy from that. And two stories in my life recently have illuminated this insight that Schadenfreude shrinks the soul. It makes us less human. It makes us unhappy. Delighting in someone else's unhappiness, it's kind of a conundrum, a utopia. It doesn't actually exist. That any sort of temporary benefit we get from delighting in someone else's misfortune is not long-lasting or permanent or even meaningful, because we are hurt when we hurt someone else or when someone else is hurt, because we are so deeply interconnected as a species. Whereas when we delight in someone else's joy, we are benefited. When we have a hand in making someone else's life better, we are made more human and more joy-filled as a result. This is core to my argument about civility and incivility. There's no nice guys finish last and the bullies and strongmen get ahead, because the bullies and strongmen, they live in a prison of their own making. This goes back all the way to Socrates, that viciousness is sickness of the soul, whereas virtue is health of the soul. So while sickness and viciousness is its own punishment, virtue of the soul is its own reward. So back to Nietzsche, back to Schadenfreude, back to Mitfreude. Recently a friend of mine named Rachel sent me an essay. She's like, Lexi, you write a lot, and I have this essay, and it was so beautiful. She's like, can you offer me some feedback? I read it. It was so lovely. It was about how we should all trick or treat, and how trick-or-treating strengthens the civic bonds and muscles. It helps us know our neighbors. And it was just such a lovely essay. I loved it, and I felt so convicted by it, because I had never taken my kids trick-or-treating in 5 years. There were many different reasons for that. None of them superstitious. I'm mostly just because I have other things going on and haven't wanted to. And so anyway, I got this essay from her. I loved it. I offered a few tweaks. I offered some ideas for how to pitch it. I directed her to my editor at the Wall Street Journal and a few other outlets. And she was accepted. Her essay ran in October, and I'll link to it in this piece. And I cannot express to you the joy I felt at her success. It was her first time being published in the journal, and I was so happy to help platform her lovely ideas about how to strengthen trust and civic bonds in these divided times. And I just felt a profound sense of joy in her success and for her. And then I also felt convicted enough to take my kids trick-or-treating this year. And it was so fun. I got to see neighbors old and new, and was just really glad I took her prompt and advice and did that. So thanks, Rachel, for writing that piece. Thanks for letting me have a small hand and having it platformed. And thanks for encouraging me to take my kids trick-or-treating, who absolutely loved it. They were delighted. They're like, can we go trick-or-treating again today, Mom? The next day. And I'll contrast that. And I said not to, praise myself, but just to say it was a small thing that brought an enormous amount of true joy in seeing someone else helped. Now I'll contrast that with a moment where I was not at my best this last week. I had hired a contractor to produce some content and kind of strategy, work product. And it was very clear that it was AI slop. It was just AI generated. It had typos, it had errors in it. It had links to work that was not mine and had nothing to do with my work. It was just so sloppy, and it felt like a dual insult that, here I read about this project of being human and the gift of being human and the age of the machine. And she thought that AI slop could, be a substitute or contribute to that project. Like, at first she thought I wouldn't notice, thought that I would, and that could pass off as a suitable work product. It was so insulting. And I was not gracious in offering that feedback. It just felt dishonest. It felt lazy. It felt insulting. And I spoke the truth, but not in love. And I felt really gross inside. I felt like, I violated my own principles and not speaking candid truth in a way that was gracious. And I'm reminded that wasn't an instance of Schadenfreude. It was an instance that illuminates why Schadenfreude is harmful. And, when we hurt other people, for example, as I, hurt this person with my words and my feedback, by offering it candidly but not with love, we're hurt too. We are made a little bit less human and less gracious and less our full and best selves. And that was convicting, and I still have to make amends, even though I'm still mad about this AI slot work product that I spent money on. And so anyway, that's just a word for you today to pursue Mitfreude, to pursue true joy by pursuing joy with others. Go out of your way to bring joy to someone's day and delight in them as they experience joy. We live in such an age of cynicism where it's easy to poke holes in other people's joy and see all the reasons why we shouldn't be joyful. That is a recipe for deep unhappiness. And so avoid Schadenfreude, which is faux joy. The delight that we get at the misfortune of someone else is not true lasting joy. It shrinks us. It shrinks our souls. Pursue Mitfreude. Pursue with joy. Go out of your way this week at home, in your neighborhood, in your workplace, to delight in someone else's success and flourishing, and we will flourish too.